Support for this program is provided by the Foundation for Excellence in Louisiana Public Broadcasting and from viewers like you.
Hello and welcome to a special edition of Louisiana Public Square. I'm Beth Courtney, president of LPB. Tonight we'll be exploring your questions and concerns about the upcoming school year. Moderating our discussion this evening is Barry Irwin, president of the Council for a Better Louisiana. Welcome, Barry.
Thanks, Beth. Well, just this week, Vice President Mike Pence met with Governor Edwards and education leaders to push for reopening Louisiana classrooms as soon as possible. While the state has seen a recent surge in COVID cases, the governor, along with Bessie, the Department of Ed, and the Board of Regents have decided to move forward to the degree they can with returning students to campus.
Well, rules that apply to businesses in Phase 2 will now apply to schools, limiting group sizes, masking, and sanitizing. But these practices create new issues, like how to fit all students on school buses and in classrooms. Over the next hour, we'll look for solutions for daycare centers, K-12 schools, and colleges and universities. We begin with the Childcare Center owner in South Louisiana and how she is adapting to serve her young learners.
My name is Phyllis Johnson, owner of A+ Daycare and Learning Center located in Maurice, Louisiana. Of course, with the oil field first before COVID, we did have a lot of parents that moved out of the state, and that was heartbreaking for us. So that lowered our capacity. And then lo and behold comes March and COVID. Right now we're at about 40% capacity. Parents either working from home now or, they're just losing their jobs, hours being cut. So they were at home, the children, there was no need to send the children to the daycare. We've been operating for 17 years with no state assistance. This is privately owned, private pay from parents. We had to temporarily switch our license to be able to take childcare assistance. It helped the parents who were out of work at the time because childcare assistance paid for the children to attend the daycare. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and that's the scary part. Now the world is seeing how important childcare is, because if you didn't have childcare and you are a nurse or you are a doctor or you are on the front lines per se, your child had to go somewhere and you had to trust your childcare facility would be open and would be there doing the best that they can to make sure your child is safe.
Fortunately, the majority of those safe havens remain open in Louisiana. While nearly 2/3 of early learning centers were closed immediately following the coronavirus outbreak, 67% of them have resumed operations. Our panel for early education discussion includes Olivette Temple, head of the Childcare Association of Louisiana, who runs a preschool in New Orleans; Libby Saunier, executive director of the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children; and Dr. Michael Bolton with Our Lady of the Lake Children's Hospital, who's been helping with the reopening preparations for East Baton Rouge Parish schools. Our first question addresses something on the minds of not only parents using childcare, but educators and students of all ages. Elizabeth, a school custodian in Mansfield, asks, with this pandemic starting back up, why would you start school right now? I have to work, but I don't want to put my life nor my family's life in jeopardy. So, Doctor, what are the risks for children infecting or contracting COVID and also spreading it to adults, especially young children in childcare?
Yeah, that's a great question and part of what's still somewhat unknown. I think there are a few things to look at when we talk about trying to get kids back into school safely, looking for the welfare of the child and also for the faculty. One of the things is the environment. So from the earliest reports we had out of China with regards to kids in COVID-19, we found that most kids who had it got it from a household adult. More recently, we've seen when a house has it, when a house has members who have COVID-19, less than 10% of the time It's the child who started, who was the index case or the first kid who had it in the household. So I think the environment is an important piece. And we've seen, through the video we've seen already opening, that daycares have been open. We haven't seen a real influx of COVID cases in kids per se from those kids. The second is age. I think the more kids get older, the more they act like adults in terms of transmission of the virus. What we've seen is that younger kids are about 1/4 or 1/3 as likely to get COVID as their older cohorts or as adults. And so it seems like the younger kids tend to be okay when they get COVID because they have less severe symptoms and they're also less likely to get it. I think another piece to look at is what's done in other places, other countries that have already opened schools safely. When you look at Europe, Asia, Australia, many places that have opened schools in a safe manner, practicing different habits that we'll be talking about, they've done it relatively safely.
Well, let me ask you, you talked about the habits that we're practicing. Ms. Temple, you're operating a child care center. What kind of precautions are you using on a daily basis there, and kind of what have you seen in terms of your experience?
Well, as you know, child care centers have not had to close. Right. And one of the things, we do this all the time. As it relates to the caution, we are already cleaning, sanitizing, as it relates to the CDC guidelines, as well as the Department of Education guidelines that's put in place in the Department of Health. We are frequently highly touched surfaces. We're cleaning them. It says 2 hours. We're doing hourly. We are having the children to wash their hands, not just at transition times, but all the time. Everything that we're doing, we're talking about germs, and we're preventing. We don't have parents that come into the city center, and as a result, that minimizes risk or exposure. We are the hand washing piece. We can't express that enough. And just the mere fact that parents can't come in is a big deal.
Wow, I bet those kids have never been cleaner.
Oh, they love it. They actually are. They are, once we start something with children, they help with the adults. They remind them. So
that's great. That's good to hear.
It's a big deal.
Dr. Saunier, let me ask you, I know you conducted a survey of child care centers and about child care operations. Generally speaking, what did you find when you were surveying child care centers about their concerns and just issues that they were facing?
Sure. We've done 3 surveys now at the Louisiana Policy Institute for Children, and what we found is that the child care industry is not different from other industries. They are really managing the same challenges. So again, like Olivet shared with us a minute ago, making sure things are clean. There's a great need for PPE. Childcare doesn't want to be exposing more people to the virus as well, so they're really working on mitigating that. Additionally, what we know is that childcare is the industry that supports all other industries, and so it needs really some infrastructure and support during this time because they operate on such small margins anyway, and they're not like schools where schools get an allocated amount of funding. Childcare does not. It's really tuition based, and so through the pandemic they've opened, they've closed, they've done in between, ratios have changed, and so there's been a lot of flux. And so what we found in our surveys is that's the flux that we've seen as well, and this continued need for support financially and through other industries to be able to keep childcare open.
Thanks. We have another question. This one is from video of a preschool teacher of deaf students.
I'm a preschool teacher of the deaf and hard of hearing at Allen Ellender School in Jefferson Parish Public Schools. In my classroom, my students rely on seeing my face and my mouth to access information and learning. Also, they require close personal interaction to achieve developmentally appropriate practices. What is being done to ensure that the needs of both early childhood and children with special needs are being met?
Yeah, Ms. Temple, let me start with you. What kind of guidance are y'all receiving in terms of dealing with either deaf children or just kids in general that have special needs?
Let me just say this. The Department of Education, we're working very closely with them as it relates to all of our children, and the guidelines are in place. As a parent of a child with an exceptionality, for me that was a very big deal. And so you have to have qualified people in place. You know that we're essential, and the people that we have in place have to be sensitive to those students. one, she talked about a deaf child, but we have children with autism, we have children with Down syndrome, so we have an array of disabilities that we are actually caring for and servicing. We have to be sensitive to their needs. There is no, just as you've said, in this time, we have to nurture them. We have to be close to them. And so that is a part of their reinsurance and part of some of their individual plans. So as a result, the department is encouraging us to our small groups, as we've been doing. Our ratios are definitely mandating that, but just being right there for them, because it is very difficult for them to process all of this. So the small group settings are working for them, as well as just being readily available, qualified and equipped to just assess the needs.
Right. Well, Dr. Bolton, let me turn to you. Also to address those same concerns, how do you deal with those young kids, those very young kids, with the social distancing piece, and particularly with a deaf student where the social distancing might be more difficult to do?
Yeah, those are difficult questions, and I think Ms. Temple's already hit on a couple of different items that from a medical standpoint, we really try to encourage. So it's washing hands, it's wearing masks, and it's watching your distance. And so the more you can implement those aspects in your school setting, the safer that kids and faculty will be when they go to school. When it comes to kids who have special needs and need different resources, it's trying to be creative with what's available to allow faculty in the school, to allow kids in the school, and reap the benefits that they get from in-person schooling. There's face masks, which I think work the best. There's been some literature on face shields, so sort of the clear plastic covering that goes over that. We're not entirely sure if they're how effective they are, but they seem to be more effective than nothing. And so the clear face shield allows a teacher's face to be seen, allows more education to happen for those kids who need to read lips or to read facial expressions for some of the teachers.
Our next question is from Joanna in New Roads, and she asks, given parents' desperate need to get back to work and the challenge of accessing childcare even before COVID, what is being done to make childcare more affordable and accessible to parents, especially now? Dr. Saulnier?
Many of the child care providers have taken advantage of the SBA loans and other COVID-related response grants that we've had throughout our state to really help keep the cost of child care down. We recently did a cost modeling to really understand what quality early care and education would cost post in this COVID world. Prior to COVID, it was $12,000 a year annually. Post-COVID, with reduced ratios and cleaning supplies and PPE and those types of things, it's up to $16,000 a year annually. Parents can't afford that. Child care centers won't charge that. But what they're doing is they're really working hard to make sure that they can mitigate the cost. What's also alarming is that prior to COVID, we served less than 15% of our children 3 and under in publicly funded programs. And we really think that we are seeing a shift of that. So it's really about making sure that we have an industry that's viable so families can come back to work and to be able to provide for their families.
Absolutely. Our next question is from PJ, a child care provider in Lafayette, and he asks, are child care providers required to pay employees when they are not working during quarantine, or if they're out waiting for test results? I'm sure that's a question on a lot of people's mind. Changes, I'm sure, by child care center, but what's the situation that y'all deal with?
Well, as a matter of fact, in all fairness, we are required to pay because their exposure probably came from that child care setting. And so we do. It's very unfortunate because, just as Dr. Saulnier said, the financial piece is really a big deal. But because they're entitled to it, we are required to compensate them while they're out because the exposure probably came from the child care setting.
Sure. Well, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for in this segment. Thank you, Ms. Temple, Dr. Saulnier, and Dr. Bolton for the information. In late June, the Academy of Pediatrics issued a statement strongly advocating for having students physically present in classrooms in the coming school year. Yet a July survey by the Louisiana Federation of Teachers found that of the 15,000 respondents, 58% were not comfortable with their children or students returning to school. Only 42% were. Well, schools in Claiborne Parish plan to be opening originally as scheduled. We interviewed the superintendent there to see how his district is addressing challenges and concerns.
My name is William Kennedy. I'm the superintendent of schools in Claiborne Parish. Claiborne Parish is a very rural district. We're located in the center part of the state, right against the Arkansas line. I have about 1,700 students, K through 12th grade. Under phase 2, you can only put 50% capacity on a school bus, which virtually means 36 kids. That's going to limit the number of children that we can bring on campus. So on August 6th, we will transport and bring to campus every child pre-K through 8. Once we get those children on campus, we can put them in static groups, and we can follow that guideline to educate those kids face-to-face in person. The high school is more of a challenge, as it is for every district, because you can't provide the static groups per se, and a standard-sized classroom where we may have 24, 28 kids. With the 6-foot social distancing guidelines, we can put 15 in there. So when we start, we will bring every child pre-K through 8 on campus face-to-face, and the high school will start virtually. Because we're so rural, internet access is an issue. We did a survey, and of those that responded, there's about 26% that simply have no internet availability. We're working to improve that, and we got some pretty good plans in place, but that does take time to get that coverage. If a kid doesn't have access at home, they could possibly travel to one of our schools that does have the free Wi-Fi outside, or a local library or something of that nature, and log in, and all of the lessons that the teachers recorded that day are there. And then furthermore, those that don't have access to that, we will record those lessons. We will save them to a jump drive, and we will distribute those jump drives weekly to our children that just don't have that accessibility. It's challenging, but it's just a new normal, I think, we have to embrace and move forward with.
Joining us to explore that new normal is Louisiana's new state school superintendent, Dr. Cade Brumley. Dr. Keith Corville, Executive Director of the Associated Professional Educators of Louisiana, Irma Jackson, a middle school science teacher in East Baton Rouge Parish, and joining us remotely from Caddo Parish, Keisha Simmons, President-elect of the Louisiana School Counselors Association. Before we go to our audience questions, Dr. Brumley, first of all, welcome at this rather unusual time in this position as superintendent. But as you heard from the survey, there's still a lot of concern among teachers and families about school reopening. What can you tell us about kind of where we stand right now?
So, Barry, we've worked with experts on this virus, individuals at the Louisiana Department of Health, Ochsner Health Center, Tulane, and Children's Hospital. At the Department of Education, we never indicated that we were experts on this virus, but we did indicate that we had some strong feelings on how to operationalize standards and procedures in our schools. And so our State Board of Education voted most recently to adopt and set minimum standards for every school across the state of Louisiana in order for them to open safely. We feel really good about those standards. We think that they're standards that each school can use, can clearly understand, and I've been really impressed with systems throughout the state working their way through those standards to make sure that they are able to open their schools in a safe way, while we also recognize that we absolutely have to find a way to educate every child in this state, no matter the phase that we're in or the overall situation of this pandemic. Our kids deserve an education, and we have to find a way.
Well, it does seem like districts are trying to use a lot of different kinds of flexibility to allow learning in different situations. Can you comment a little bit on that? What can we see across the state, or what do we expect when schools reopen?
So we've set up a system based on the phases that the state might be in. So if you're in phase 2, there are a certain set of restrictions that are in place. And as we toggle back and forth, if you go to phase 1, that becomes more restrictive. If you move to phase 3, you have less restrictions. And so that has to do with things like group size, number of students on a bus, hand washing, sanitation, face coverings. And so each individual system is working through that, prioritizing, as we've seen, bring in elementary students first and foremost, as they've been shown to not be the spreaders as adults might be of the virus.
Dr. Corville, let me turn to you, talking about spreading of the virus. You deal a lot with teachers. What kind of guidelines are they receiving in terms of how they interact with kids, how they protect the kids and themselves, and kind of what's their reaction?
Well, absolutely. You know, outside of the BESI minimum requirements and what districts are trying to work through right now, you know, there's still a lot of anxiety out there amongst our educators, our teachers. You know, specifically anxiety towards, you know, not only their health and their livelihood, but also on how exactly do we educate students and we implement these logistics. You know, not everyone, there's not really a lot of answers out there for teachers right now. And so I'm just asking that everyone work with teachers as we try to figure this all out and we move forward with it to try to help and support our students.
Let me ask Dr. Brumley, too. We heard the superintendent earlier talk about school buses and how that would be a challenge. How is that going to work, do you think, with a minimum amount, half the number of capacity on a school bus? And how do you keep social distancing there? Is that possible?
Yeah, so this is one of the primary concerns and challenges of school systems is transportation. In phase 2, for instance, you can only occupy a bus at 50%. And so that really takes a bus, cuts it in half in terms of the amount of students you can bring to school. So that's why you see so many of the systems moving in phase 2 to a hybrid model where students are only at school certain days of a week, or you're only bringing in a certain population of your student body, such as your elementary students. If we're able to move to phase 3, that goes to 75%, so you're able to put more students on that bus. But what's also important is that those buses have their windows down so that you're circulating the air through there, and that you have social distances to all extent possible on those buses.
All right, well, let's go to a video question from a middle school teacher in Shreveport.
My name is Dana Michelle Fergans, and I currently serve as a Louisiana history teacher. My question is, has LDOE set up a state committee to address the behavioral health needs of students, especially the social emotional factors of their mental health, to assist local school districts and their reentry plan?
Ms. Simmons, let me ask you to address that question. What's going on and what are school counselors doing to try and deal with that situation?
Louisiana Department of Education have provided us with guidelines for assessing the mental health needs of both students and faculty. The key, though, is going to be making sure that school counselors are available. Principals have been given leeway to use faculty and staff in order to meet the needs of smaller class sizes, but we want to make sure that school counselors aren't caught up in non-counseling duties and that we are available to assess students, being proactive in those assessments with faculty and students, and then also available to follow up with individual meetings and small group meetings, in addition to meeting with parents and making sure that the mental health needs are met. So that's pretty much where we are. School counselors are skilled. We are able to assist in crisis situations. The key, like I said, is going to be making sure that we are available.
Well, that's encouraging to hear, and thanks so much for that. Ms. Jackson, let me turn to you. You're a school teacher, but you also have a child in school. And how do you balance those concerns about going back to school as a teacher, but also kind of worrying about your kid?
Well, first and foremost, my students are my children also, so I feel the same about my own as I do the students that I teach. And that first concern is safety. If students don't feel safe in the school environment, it hinders the learning process. And if that takes place, then there's a conundrum of other issues. So with everything that's going on right now, it's a very hectic and stressful time. So those students coming back to campus, which we have to return to school, but we have to do it safely. And coming back to campus may not be safety. We know our kids want to return, but what they expect is normalcy, what they had prior to March 13th. And we will have a new normal. Students are used to coming in, just running and hugging their teachers, hugging their classmates. They won't have that. Recess, they won't be able to jump rope, play hide and seek. There won't be any group projects or think pair sharing. There won't be, I'll talk to you at lunch or I'll talk to you at PE, because there will be social distancing and those things will change. So what they're looking for, we won't see that on a campus. As far as teachers, most of us are due to return in less than a month, maybe 3 weeks, about 2 weeks here in East Baton Rouge Parish. And we're trying to figure out exactly what it would look like. Right now, we're set to return in a hybrid model, which means we'll have students 1 or 2 days, and then the rest will be virtual. But how do we connect that? Are we educating our kids in person and virtually at the same time? We're not sure what that's going to look like.
What about you as a parent then, worrying about your child going back to school?
And it's hectic because my son, for 6.5 hours during the day, he learns in a different language that I'm not fluent in. So
wow.
It's very stressful for me because I have to make sure if I'm not home, I have to put things in play for him to be able to do things. And I will say that our district has said he can go to school when I'm at work outside of Wednesday, so I still have to worry about childcare one of those days. But it's stressful because I want him to be safe, and I want everyone to be safe, but I just don't feel returning to the school building right now will be safe.
It just doesn't get any easier, does it?
No, it doesn't.
These next two questions deal with some issues that have been on a lot of people's minds that we've gotten from. Dee from Lake Charles says, I'm a paraprofessional working in a special education classroom. What happens if one of my own children gets sick and is sent home to quarantine? If I take care of them, will my job be in jeopardy? And similarly, William from Lafayette asks if a teacher is required to self-quarantine due to contact with an infected student or coworker, will our sick days be used? Now, Dr. Brumley, I guess this kind of varies across the state, but could you address those kind of concerns from teachers?
So I think that the request is for a simple answer of yes, you do this, or no, you do that, or you go here for 5 days or there for 10. But it's really going to matter depending on the situation. This is why we've been working hand in hand with the Louisiana Department of Health to build relationships between local school systems and our public health office here in the state. We're working to provide guidance for school systems so if different things happen, they know how to respond. But more important even than those set procedures are the relationships that have to be built between healthcare providers and school systems so that they can have that authentic, ongoing, organic relationship of partnering with each other. We've never been back to school in a global health pandemic. And so we're going to have to learn from each other, give each other grace, patience, and understanding as we work through this together. In terms of employees and absences, each local school system is working through their own policies to see what makes the most sense. But at a minimum, every teacher in the state of Louisiana has a certain amount of sick leave. There's been federal legislation that has provided for CARES Act leave regarding the coronavirus, and then there's also extended medical leave. So I would just encourage every educator in the state to make sure that they're having those conversations with their local district or school system.
Let me just ask you too, one of the questions that's come up really across the state is the whole issue with the masks. And you're trying to require or recommending that most students, depending on their age, wear a mask. How is that going to be enforced, and have any concerns about that?
Yeah, so I've been more and more impressed about the importance of the face covering as I've spent time with some of the leading experts on this virus in the state of Louisiana. We approached it by saying students in grades pre-K through 2 may wear a face covering. We didn't mandate in pre-K 2 across the entire state for a couple of reasons. One being we thought that those children who are very young, it might prompt them to touch their face more by having that mask on their face. And also language development is really important. This is a time where you're looking at lips, looking at the tongue to see how sounds are made. So we didn't mandate that. However, in grades 3 and above, we are suggesting that those students must wear a face covering if they're going to return to the school environment.
Well, thanks. Our next question comes from a member of the Legislative Youth Advisory Council. Jackson asks, on behalf of my brother with significant autism, I wanted to know how individualized education was going to be achieved for the population of students who cannot learn via Zoom sessions. So, Dr. Curver, I'm sure that's a question that comes up with teachers still trying to figure things out. What are you telling them, or what are you hearing?
Well, absolutely. And I do want to be clear to kind of cite my source and inspiration for this question. One of my colleagues at the association, Dr. Desiree Alexander, for years now has been working in the digital classroom space and has trained thousands of educators across this nation. And one of the things that she has taught me is that digital education is more than a Zoom call. So for parents out there that are worrying about what does this look like, how do we have accommodations, my first part of this answer is that it's not a Zoom call. A digital classroom is setting up a learning management system, it's tracking and responding to assignments, it's digitizing and translating written curriculum into an online space, and it is absolutely accommodating exceptionalities of students. Now, am I going to be able to say that every single accommodation, particularly those exceptionalities, accommodations aimed at exceptionalities that are, mild to moderate impairments, is going to be something that we can do online? Absolutely not. I can't answer for the entire state in every situation. However, I can promise you that teachers are trying, and that this is one of the, again, fundamental reasons why teachers should be treated as essential workers, and any benefit given to essential workers should definitely be given to teachers, because they are literally the backbone of our society.
Well, challenges on every front with teachers and everyone. Let me ask Dr. Brumley, one of the questions that has come up earlier, and we've heard it quite a bit, has to do with internet connectivity and access to broadband. I know that there's a lot of federal money that has come to help us with this. We're trying to get more devices into the hands of students that don't have them. Where do we stand with that right now?
So we believe right now, after pushing out about $316 million in CARES Act funding to our local systems, that we're in a much better place than we were a year ago. We have more devices in place. We think probably about 75% of our students across the state now have access to a system-sponsored device. We also know that connectivity is in a better situation. But this is temporary. The dollars that we're pushing forward in terms of devices and connectivity, that's not going to last. So we have to have a long-term discussion about broadband in this state, and making sure that every household in the state of Louisiana has access to high-functioning internet services. And this isn't just an important topic for pre-K-12. This is important for higher ed, and it's important as more and more individuals are working remotely, working from home. So we need broadband in this state that is accessible to every citizen.
Well, thanks. I did want to take a moment really quickly to remind our viewers that LPB is offering critical math lessons over the air to help bridge the gap through the end of July. You can get the detailed schedule plus many more educational resources at lpb.org/at-home. Ms. Jackson, let me ask you this question. You're going to be theoretically going back to school in August with all of your students. What are your expectations for where you're going to find them after, the disruption we had in the spring and in the long summer? Where do you think they're going to be, and how do you feel like you're going to be able to help work with them?
As Dr. Brumley said, compassion. And we have to be compassionate with our students. However, those high expectations, as we always had, will also be there. Meaning, we won't accept, I can't do it, I don't know, I was out, I don't remember. We as teachers, we set high expectations for ourselves and our students. So we have to make sure that we're pushing them, just letting them know that we're there for them. And usually in the beginning of the school year, we start out with pre-tests in every subject, and we'll keep doing that. Those pre-tests allow us to see where our students are, and it's our responsibility to grow them, meet them where they are, and grow them from that point. Benchmarks may be a little different because they may be, I won't even say a deficit because we meet them where they are, but they may look a little different, but we have to do our best. Teachers are superhuman, and we have to really be superhuman going back in August, and just making sure that we get our kids back into the spirit of learning, and making sure that they know we're there for them, and we're going to get them to where they need to be. We're going to do our best, work our magic, and make them work.
You always do, I'm sure. Thanks. Dr. Brumley, let me ask you, she mentioned assessments. One of the assessments that was canceled this past year was the LEAP test. There are concerns or questions that kind of rise about, what are we going to do with LEAP next year? What about accountability? Where are we thinking about that at this point?
So I think we have to recognize that there will be a certain level of learning loss of children coming back into our school buildings. We see that every summer when we have students who come in after 2 months away from the building. And whenever we have a situation where students haven't been in our school building since March, we can only believe that that's going to exacerbate that learning loss. One of the things that we're asking every system to do is to conduct a screener, and in grades 3 and above, a diagnostic test, which will be short and sweet, but it will give us a sense of where all of our students are in literacy and mathematics. Our teachers will then take that information. They're frontline employees. They're essential. They are heroes. And they'll take that information and move those students from that point. But I think we have to understand where the children are whenever they come back into the buildings to know what has been the impact of this. And that will help us drive policy decisions and resource decisions moving forward. And so that's why we're asking every system to conduct these diagnostic assessments in literacy and mathematics.
Thanks. Our next question is by video from another student with the Legislative Youth Advisory Council.
My name is Ali Langua, and I'm going to be a junior at STEM Magnet Academy of Poincapi. My question is, what are the changes that are going to affect sports, activities, and extracurriculars?
Dr. Brumley, we also had a question from a physical education teacher about what kind of guidelines they're going to have to be under in terms of physical activity and PE classes. How can you address those?
Every extracurricular or co-curricular activity will look different, but some of the minimum safety standards still apply in terms of group size, in terms of physical distancing, and many of the other precautions that we have in place. Now, obviously, social distancing is more of a challenge with 4-year-olds in a pre-K class. How do you figure that out? Those are questions that teachers and systems are working through. It's also a challenge in terms of physical education. We have a number of extracurricular and co-curricular activities such as band or choir that could be problematic. And that's why we have specific standards in place for all of those different areas. And we're asking individuals, if they have questions, to look at our department's website at Louisiana Believes and then look at the Strong Start guidance.
Well, Ms. Simmons, let me turn to you. From your perspective as a counselor, how important are activities, school extracurriculars, sports, all of those types of things in terms of the mental health and kind of the social well-being of students?
Of course, physical activity and the extracurricular activities are very important for students. It helps with, like you said, social well-being. And we all know that past studies show physical activity helps with managing anxiety, depression. So to answer the question, all of those extracurricular activities are key. So like Dr. Brumley said earlier, flexibility is going to be required in this situation. We're all navigating into unknown territory, and hopefully parents can allow for some type of activity at home, have it be, playing outside, or walking, take activity in. But unfortunately, we all know why the contact sports must be canceled, and maybe even some of the extracurricular activities that require students to be close together, they have to be canceled. So we'll just have to work together and figure out how they can enjoy those activities in a safe way, kind of like Dr. just said.
Well, that'll be on the minds of a lot of parents and students, I know. We have another video question. This one is from a teacher in Calcasieu Parish.
My name is Dr. Lisa Morgan, and I'm employed with Calcasieu Parish School Board, where I serve as a teacher at LaGrange High School. My question would be, could we open up in phases? Perhaps could we start off where students whose last name begins with A through N will come on certain days, and students whose last name begins with N through Z will come on alternate days. As we matriculate through the school year and we see that the numbers are decreasing, then we'll resume and bring all students in on a daily basis.
Dr. Brumley, let me ask you, is that something that we can expect to see where things are staggered in that type of way across the state?
Yeah, that's a great question, and that's exactly how we set it up. So phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 will all look different. And our school systems across the state are working through how do they operate in these different phases. And many of the systems are doing exactly what the teacher indicated. And what also will be important as we work through this is maintaining communication among system leaders, teachers, to understand what are best practices, what things are working. I think we're going to see a ton of innovation come out of this. It's a terrible situation. I think that we're going to come out of this virus with a vaccine in the future, with the ability to move past it, but we're also going to come out with a lot of innovations that we otherwise never would have seen. And that's what school people do. We figure it out, we find a way for our kids, and I think that's exactly what you'll see moving through this situation.
I think you're right, and I think we're already seeing quite a lot of that right now. Let me turn to you, Dr. Corville, real quickly. What do you think is the state of mind of teachers right now? You deal with a lot of them with this weighing the whole thing about coming back? I know they want to on the one hand, but have concerns as well. What are you hearing?
Well, absolutely. And just saying that, every single day we talk to teachers across the state, and every single parish is a different response. But by and large, especially in areas where, like Baton Rouge, New Orleans, or Shreveport, where COVID has hit the communities very hard and there's been a lot of community spread, teachers have a great deal of anxiety about returning to work. Anxiety for their own health, anxiety for their own livelihood if they would get the virus, and if they'd be granted leave and everything like that. Anxiety for their own students, anxiety for the logistics. I mean, this entire situation has shown us, as people, as a society, just how very little is really in our control. And I think that everyone acknowledges that all of the work that we're doing to minimize risk, it minimizes risk. Educators know that there still is risk. And I can tell you personally that, I never forget my first year as a teacher, how many times I got sick just because my immune system was trying to build up with all that contact from those kids. We all remember that. This is a situation in which teachers are feeling a great deal of anxiety, and I really want to turn to the words of BESI President Sandy Holloway as she closed the BESI meeting on minimum requirements, is that she spoke of compassion. And I would really urge both the general public and everyone at all levels of our districts and our states to have compassion for teachers as we try to work on this, figure this out, and move forward.
Well, absolutely. Well, that's all the time we have for this segment. Thanks to Superintendent Brumley, Dr. Corville, Ms. Jackson, and Ms. Simmons for their input. You can find more information about K-12 reopenings by clicking the Strong Start link at louisianabelieves.com. When the fall semester begins, Louisiana universities and community colleges will be working to reopen their campuses to students. While some may use a hybrid model of online and in-person classes, they'll all be required to reduce class sizes, use social distancing, and the wearing of masks. Despite the rules, the wild card may be student behavior. People in their 20s and 30s account for the largest share of new coronavirus infections. We spoke with 2 university students on this issue and their concerns about the upcoming academic year.
So my name is Callie Wynn. I am a junior or third year at Louisiana State University. I'm in the College of Science over there, and I'm on the pre-med track. Whenever the coronavirus pandemic did hit, my dad unfortunately did have to go under unemployment. And so that really left with my mom being the sole provider for the family, and I didn't want all that pressure on her. So I also took up a couple of jobs, and that has really put a lot of stress onto me because of how I'm being a full-time student as well as doing a part-time job.
My name is Kaylee Desatel, and I'm a senior mass communication student at Louisiana State University. Although I much prefer a hands-on learning experience, I think the transition to online learning was a bit easier for me as a mass communication student because majority of my assignments are projects or papers, things that are fairly easy to complete remotely.
I was in a microbiology lab at the time, and whenever the pandemic did hit, it went from doing the hands-on experiments in the lab to basically not really doing any sort of experiments. So I think that that's where we also sacrificed in our education, where we're not really getting that full-on experience in a laboratory setting or in a laboratory class, which is what the class is supposed to be for.
My questions look a lot like everyone else's right now. Overall, what is this semester really going to look like? We know things are going to be different. We just don't know the extent of those differences yet. So aside from academics, will organizations be able to hold meetings in person? Will sororities have social events? Will students be able to attend football games?
I'm actually very anxious and very nervous about moving back to campus during the fall because we don't know if there is going to be another peak in the pandemic. We don't know if there is going to be students who will engage in proper mask usage, proper glove usage, proper social distancing, because we are college students.
I'm confident that the university is doing everything they possibly can to provide us with a fall semester that's as close to normal while still keeping everyone safe and healthy. I think it's our job as students to just be understanding and accommodating to these changes. We're all in this together, so just doing the best we can to be understanding about it.
Joining me to explore what those changes for students will be is Dr. Kim Hunter-Reed, Louisiana's Commissioner of Higher Education, Dr. Monty Sullivan, President of the Louisiana Community and Technical College System, and Tyson Lee, the two-term Student Government Association President at LSU Shreveport. Dr. Reed, I'd like to start with you, and I think we heard it in those student questions. What are students going to expect when they show up for the beginning of class this semester?
Well, it's a great question. Obviously, the first thing I want them to know is the education will continue. It will look different, it will feel different. Obviously, we have to think about safety first. And so all of the safety protocols, masks, social distancing, grab-and-go meals, all of those things will be happening, floor signage for students. But we will not stop educating our students. I believe we will be a hybrid state, both in K-12 and higher education in the fall, online as well as some in-person classes. We've been planning and working hard since early June, trying to make sure we have those plans out so that all of our higher education leaders, our faculty, our student leaders like Tyson, all of the healthcare professionals are all on the same page, trying to make sure that we do it safely. Our message is to students, don't defer your dreams. We're going to do it safely. We're all in it together. It will feel different and look different, but the education must continue.
Well, that's certainly encouraging. And, you know, you talked about a hybrid model with the community and technical college system. I would think in some areas that works fine, especially on the technical side where so much is hands-on. That's going to be a particular challenge.
You're right, and the general education classes will largely be delivered electronically, internet-based, as you heard the commissioner point out, at our colleges. But there are those lab settings, those hands-on training programs that require students to be in a lab, to have that experience, to have skills checkoffs, and we're excited about having students come back in the fall. This is an unusual set of circumstances. There's uncertainty, but we know that we have to continue to educate and skill our people because we cannot allow this virus to continue to impact our economy negatively. And educating and skilling people, giving them a chance to get back into the economy is critically important. So you'll see welding labs, as an example, with students spaced every other welding booth so that there's appropriate social distancing. In some of these lab settings, students can wear masks. In some, they will not be able to wear masks. So we will have to have differences among the different content areas. But we believe it's critically important that we continue to teach, continue to educate, continue to skill people, particularly in healthcare-related roles, but really across all the occupational fields.
When you talk about skilling, you're talking about giving people those educational training skills they need to do the things. Let me ask you this too. You've received some federal dollars that were allocated to try and have a quick turnaround initiative to really bump up some of the training that we're doing. Do you see a surge coming from that, and how are you prepared to handle that?
No question. We have about 300,000 people in the state of Louisiana who are unemployed today, who are receiving unemployment assistance. Unfortunately, the federal benefit is likely to end sometime around the 25th of July. We anticipate that many of those individuals will be coming to our campuses. We put together an initiative referred to as Reboot Louisiana. Gives people an opportunity to come to our campuses for short-term training, skills certification that get them back into the economy. What we all need to recognize is that Louisiana's economy is different today than it was prior to the March pandemic. And so as a result of that, you have to have those skills to be able to participate fully and make a living and take care of your families. And so we encourage you, wherever you are in the state of Louisiana, seek out your local community or technical college, seek out those opportunities to gain the skills to get back into the economy.
Tyson, let me turn to you as a student getting ready to go back to class in August here, I guess. What concerns do you have personally, and what are you hearing from your peers about going back?
Right, so thank you for allowing me to be here and allowing the student representation to be on this panel discussion. I served as immediate past chair of Council of Student Body Presidents, and that organization consists of presidents of all public universities in Louisiana. And one thing I hear from my peers and fellow student body presidents are, general concerns that we all share about the uncertainty of going back to college. And one specific thing that was really a problem that was shed light on in March when we all went virtual was the digital divide. There were many of my peers, many students that I hear that had to finish college on their cell phone or had to go to public libraries and sit in the parking lot to access Wi-Fi or internet, or had to purchase laptops or purchase Wi-Fi or internet. So I think transitioning to a hybrid model will still be challenging for some students that may not have access to resources. that some students do have access to. But that's one specific problem. But generally, it's just the uncertainty of college, of the college experience of social gatherings, social events, football games, basketball games, going to college, going to campus, talking to your professors face to face, going to see your advisors face to face. And it's just a lot of mental support that lies when you get to talk to people physically versus being distanced. So I think across the state, students just are very uncertain of how it will look coming back in the fall, because we all want to be successful, but we want to make sure that we're being successful and safe at the same time.
Well, it's going to be a lot different, for sure, for a lot of students. In fact, we have a number of questions from students, and we're starting here first with a senior from ULM.
Hi, my name is Olivia Bailey, and I am a rising senior at the University of Louisiana at Monroe. I'm originally from Lake Charles, Louisiana, and my question is, what would you say to parents that are hesitant about sending their kids to school this fall?
Dr. Reed, you want to take a shot at that one?
Absolutely, since I'm a parent who's about to send a child to school in the fall. I would say that we have many opportunities for your students, whether you're comfortable sending your student to campus, whether you want your student to learn remotely, whatever situation is best for your family, we have an opportunity to continue to educate your student. So for parents, we want them to know that the education and training continues, as Dr. Sullivan mentioned, but we want to make sure that we're accommodating students and parents. We're listening, we're trying to make sure that we're doing it safely, but we want to continue to educate. That's very important.
Dr. Sullivan, just to follow up on that, especially given the hands-on nature of so much of what you deal with on the community technical colleges. Yeah, certainly. You know, for a student just like the one we just heard, be aware that there are local opportunities. And in this instance, the student has Sewella Technical Community College right there in their backyard in Lake Charles, and that may be an option for them if they choose not to go back to the university setting. Perhaps you know, whatever the concern may be, there are local options that are safe options, but allow them to continue to be educated and also to pursue other educational pursuits that may help them to gain skill sets, so that, as the commissioner pointed out, they're not stopping their education. Instead, they're continuing to make progress even in the midst of the health circumstance that we're dealing with. We have another student question. This one is from a student at Northwestern State.
My name is Nick Hopkins. I'm from Bossier City, Louisiana, and I'm a senior at Northwestern State University. My question is, will the pass-fail option be offered to students who are directly affected by COVID-19?
That's come up a lot in students' questions. What do we expect to see in that type of situation across the state? I guess it could be different depending on the campus, right? Dr. Reed?
It's absolutely. So the credit, non-credit was certainly something very popular in the spring for students. They were disrupted by the pandemic. We had to very rapidly go to remote learning, so we wanted to make sure students had that option. I want to say how proud I am for the faculty and staff who made phone calls, stood up call centers to call students to see how were they doing. Was this working for them? What could we do to satisfy any concerns that they had? So we did that in the spring. Obviously, the conversations about credit, no credit will occur on college campuses moving forward. But that was an emergency policy that was put in place along with a number of other policies that were very important to try to support students.
Are the community technical colleges in the same situation, or are y'all wrestling with that or not?
So we did not have the pass-fail option in place for the spring semester, but to the commissioner's point, what I am most heartened by is the fact that our faculty took the time to pick up the phone and call students to have that conversation. The past spring semester had the lowest dropout rate in the history of our colleges across the system, and that is a result of the caring of our faculty reaching out to ensure that students are able to meet their educational goals. I'm excited to see what we will embrace in the fall semester as those faculty continue to come back into the classroom to make sure students can meet their goals.
Dr. Reed, let me ask you this. This has kind of come up in some of the student questionings. Tyson mentioned it as well. What do we know right now about the opening of athletics in the fall? Now, we just saw that the SWAC has postponed its season, but do you have any insight into where we might be in terms of athletics in the fall?
I do not. Obviously, the conferences are looking at that. They're looking at student safety. As you mentioned, the SWAC is postponing. My daughter plays volleyball out of state. They're postponing to the spring, and so we're seeing a lot of that. But I think the bigger conversation is around social settings and social opportunities for students. You mentioned at the beginning of this segment that the biggest increase, a large increase we're seeing is in students aged 19 to 26, and most of the spread of the coronavirus in that age group is social settings. So that means we have a responsibility as educators not just to educate them safely, but to make sure that we have opportunities for them to socialize safely in their dorms, on their campuses. So we certainly have to consider those opportunities for the students, because the campuses can do everything right, spend millions more on cleaning, etc. But if the students wander out into a big group, we could have a virus outbreak on our campuses. So that is an important piece of the puzzle in all of the uncertainty.
Well, Tyson, let me give you the last word on that. Based on what Dr. Reed was saying, what do you have to say to your peers, your other students who, just as she expressed, schools are taking very good care of students, but when they go home or they go out, things can change.
Right, exactly. And as we know, now the highest rate of COVID-19 is in our age group, is 19 and 30-year-olds. I would say that, we may have taken college and all the positive things that we get out of the college experience for granted pre-COVID, but now that COVID has stripped us of going to campus, of making connections, of making new friends, of making opportunities with our administrators or educators, all the positive things that we receive by going to college. Now that it's gone, now I think there's even a bigger call to action for us to mask up and do what the experts are telling us to do, so that we can get it back, so that we can have a successful fall semester and not have to spontaneously go back online, fully online, because there may be a bigger outbreak. So I would say, to all my peers, we have the opportunity to be leaders now. We're in college so that we could be leaders in the future, but now is our opportunity to be leaders and to mask up, not just on campus, mask up off campus, not just practice social distancing on campus, practice social distancing off campus, and just be responsible. If you see your friends, and you may have peers that may not want to practice those precautions, but be responsible for yourself and also advocate it to your peers as well, because if you be positive around your peers, that could rub off on them as well.
Well, I know you and other students will provide a lot of leadership, and we appreciate that. Well, that's all the time we have for our program tonight. I want to thank Dr. Reed, Dr. Sullivan, Tyson, and all of our panelists for participating tonight. Remember, you can find LPB online educational resources as well as the critical math broadcast schedule at lpb.org/@home. Thanks for watching, and have a good night.
For a copy of this program, call 1-800-973-7246 or go online to www.lpb.org.